Hi, and welcome to episode 5 of Women of COBOL. I'm delighted to have this conversation today. We're going to chat with two young women who have just launched their COBOL careers, about 2 years each, and we're going to compare notes of what it's like to start learning COBOL and launching a COBOL career. So let me start by introducing my two amazing women of COBOL. First, we have Jennifer Osborne. She is a COBOL technical specialist at Microfocus. Welcome, Jen. And next, we have Maria Wutzberg. She is a SysOps developer at CGI and joining us from a different time zone, obviously. Thank you, Maria. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. So, we've got to start this conversation with the obvious place to start, and that is, how in the world did you find a job in COBOL? Where did you come from, and how did you find a job in, of all things, COBOL? Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think. How did this happen? Yeah. So I finished my degree in events management, of all things. And I left uni and I was like, I don't really know what to do. I was in that kind of like weird stage where like the whole world's ahead of you. So you're like, what to do? So then I found actually Microfocus, and then I applied through a more general sales program, and then they gave me, I think it was 8 weeks of training. So we were taken through each of the different areas of the business, like because there's several different portfolios, and then one of the portfolios that really resonated with me was COBOL and the whole like the legacy systems, and I just found that so fascinating. So then I just wanted to learn more and more and more. And then, I got speaking to people in the teams and like more of the specialists, and then kind of one thing led to another, and here I am specializing in the subject.
It's such an interesting story from event management to COBOL. Maria, tell us your story.
Actually, my story begins in preschool. Actually, that's my job before this. That's where my career started. And then I got a job in payroll, and from there I got the chance to go to CGI, and my previous manager at my old job recommended me to CGI because my current manager had a theory that we would like to have some person that knows the domain knowledge rather than the programming knowledge, and I proved that theory to be great.
Wow. So you started as a preschool teacher.
Yes.
And then you moved into payroll and
Yes.
payroll processing, I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then your manager at the payroll company says, CGI is looking for people with an understanding of the domain, and they want to teach you programming.
Yes, correct.
Wow. So the perfect job for you, I guess, is teaching people how to program payroll systems.
Maybe
that's where you're going in the future.
Yeah, in the future, not now.
These things have a tendency to circle back around.
Yeah.
Speaking as somebody who's, started as an actress and is now doing webinars on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really, really interesting. So how you came from completely different paths from what people think of COBOL programmers need to go to college with a programming degree. So how was it stepping into a programming job without a programming background? Because you both have that in common.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I, I just went in with my head first. The one thing I did was I searched for COBOL on YouTube. That was my only preference, actually.
Did you
Before I
do that
went,
before or after accepting the job?
and in the meantime, when I what you say in the
You had the job, but you hadn't started yet?
yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, okay. Okay. You were like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Maybe I should know a little something about what I just signed up to do.
Yep.
What am I getting myself into?
Exactly. Didn't give me much, actually. I got the concept of COBOL, but nothing I can use when I started. So it was a whole new field to tackle.
Because that's the thing. You don't just learn COBOL. You learn what is a file system, what is a database, what is, and then it's like so many different things that relate to it. So then that's why I really struggled with it first, because I was like, oh, it's just a programming language. I mean, very naive. Um, and then, there's just so much, and IT love an acronym. So once you find something, then you have to be like, okay, so what does this mean? And then you find out what that means, and you're like, oh wait, but that relates to something else that I don't know. And then it's just so many different layers.
It is. It actually is. Yeah, in my case, I had to learn a totally new payroll system,
Mm,
but not like the way you see it, but in the batch. Just
mm,
see code. Uh, so, so that, and I'm still learning
Mhm.
new things every day. But it's really, really, really fun.
It's
Yeah.
really fun. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to ask about that. So you both seem to really be enjoying your jobs. What is it that's fun about it?
I think it's just so satisfying when you try and you maybe do something. You maybe for it, in my case, maybe I'm working with a customer trying to get something to work on their system, and then it breaks, because of course it breaks. And then when you go in and then you actually, maybe like you try fixing this thing and then it still breaks, but you get a different error message, and then you go in, and then finally when it actually works, and it's just such a rewarding feeling. It's like a jigsaw, and then when you finally
Mm.
put that final piece in, it's like, yes.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Uh, but for me, it's like also, when you have something you want to compute or some, the rules and the laws of Swedish payroll, and you just get it correct. Uh, it's a satisfying feeling, really. And I love debugging. Love, love,
Oh.
love debugging.
What do you love about debugging?
I don't know. That's just basically I can go through a bunch of programs that depend on each other. To see the whole picture, and when you find that space where okay, this is where it's starting to go wrong, and then you can fix it,
Mm,
and then you
Mm.
can see, oh yeah, it now it's correct. That's why I love debugging
yeah.
mostly.
It's like a puzzle,
Yeah.
but what you're pursuing is hiding from you, and you have to find that trail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. So you guys love your jobs, and you came to it with no COBOL background. Let's talk a little bit about what each of your respective organizations did to get you on board and teach you what you needed to know. Because Jen, you did say that it's more than just the programming language itself. So why don't you start with what Micro Focus did to bring you on board?
So As I said, I came in through a graduate program, um, a very general one, and then I decided to specialize. Um, and I was immediately paired up with a mentor, and then he kind of took me under his wing, so to speak. I shadowed a lot of his customer calls. I We worked on projects together. I would start off like proofreading some documents, and then I just like worked up. So then I'd maybe do maybe like a 5-minute demo here, and then the next week maybe like a 10-minute demo, and then just really like build its way up.
Mm.
So just like the natural progression. And what I found with the COBOL community is that everyone's extremely supportive. Everyone's been like, they're all so excited to see new people in COBOL, and especially women in COBOL. Like, everyone's really receptive to that. So I found anytime I've reached out to anyone, they've been more than willing to take some time out to help me explain. I always say, there's no such thing as a casual COBOL fan. People either love it or they hate it. So when they love it, then they just want everyone to know everything about it.
And Maria?
Yeah. Well, I have two mentors, you can say. One which I have daily meetings with every day, and have had since I started 2 years ago. And they both have a ton of experience, and I mean a ton, like 50 plus years altogether. Yeah, all in the payroll system. So I can have a better mentors, actually. And it's in the beginning, I was like, had some meetings, talking, debugging, asking questions. Then it went over to more like I got my own errands, cases, and now it's more like I do it on my own, and maybe send my code to them so they can check, see if can you see if I have done something wrong or so. So it's but they are always there as a Teams chat away or a meeting way. So it's pretty cool. The sad thing is they are closing in on retirement.
Oh,
Yeah.
which is probably why they hired you, huh? They're like,
Yes.
these
yes.
people are retiring, and we
Mhm,
need
mhm.
somebody to learn everything they can from them before
Yeah.
they go. Yep.
Actually, the one person I have meetings with every day is 75 years old,
Wow.
and works like 12 hours a week only to like help me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is a lifetime of experience you can tap into there.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like at CGI, you weren't hired, as Jen was hired as part of a broader program, and it had some structure to it. It sounds like you were hired into a specific team, and
Yeah.
it's that team, it's more informal the way they're teaching you. It's one-on-one as opposed to a this then this then this.
Yes, it's more like, okay, now we have this case. Okay, what can we learn about this? What we can. So it's more floating,
Yeah.
not actually a checklist you tick off. And yeah, it's a small group. I think we are 5, 6 people,
Yeah.
and I'm the youngest. Um,
And
so
hopefully not the last one to be join the group.
no,
When I was at IBM, a decade ago, we launched a storytelling activity, a campaign, which the point of it, and maybe this is something that you're getting informally, Maria, but we had tried to do it formally for an organization that had a lot of people close to retirement. We just ask them to tell stories, and then what can we learn from those stories? So tell us about the worst customer issue you ever had. Tell us about the biggest mistake you ever made. Tell us about the thing you're the most proud of. Those stories
Mhm.
are a very easy way to get people to talk, and that's really where the wealth of discovery is in those events that are so memorable. Somebody would tell you the story if you're sitting down over a beer. Yeah, let me tell you about this time that. Those are the good ones. Those are
Yep.
the good ones.
And
Oh,
here's a
there's a
cat.
cat.
Hello.
What's the cat's name?
This is Sixten.
Sixten. Oh,
Yes.
lovely. Hi,
Yes.
Sixten. Say, I'm learning COBOL too, Sixten.
Yeah, he is actually is with me every day.
Misty, when are
Type.
you doing your Cats of COBOL webinar series?
Oh, nice. Oh, I think we're launching that. Oh, we're definitely launching that one. All right. So let's talk about storytelling since we're on that. Any crazy stories or surprising stories from your first 2 years in COBOL? Tell us a story.
Hmm.
No pressure. Yeah, I didn't prep you guys on this one because, it just kind of happened. It just came up. Any stories to tell?
Hmm. That's a hard one.
Yeah, that is a hard one.
There's no this time when I thought I knew what I was doing and I found out I didn't. Everybody has one of those.
Well, I think I'm still in like the honeymoon phase. So ask me in a year, maybe.
That's pretty good. 2 years honeymoon,
Yeah, I
Isn't
I
1 year the average for a honeymoon? The honeymoon phase is 1 year. After that, you start saying, "Why did you leave your socks on the floor?" Before that, it's cute. Oh, look, he left his socks on the floor. After a year, why are you leaving your socks on the floor?
No, do you know what I will say? We've actually just last week we hired 6 new graduates, and I've been kind of looking after them, and they are keeping me on my toes because they ask me things that I think I know, and then it's completely different knowing something and being able to explain it to someone else. Like I found that extremely interesting, shall we say. There's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. They
Nowhere to
do
hide.
say the best way to learn something is to have to teach it, which I want to pull out something that you said earlier, Maria, and I didn't point it out before, but I should have. You said that your training program had you do a demo, right? And then you did a little something and then you had to demonstrate it and then you did something and it was a little longer, right?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Oh, that was you, Jen. Oh, sorry.
What did I miss?
Yeah, she's like, yeah,
Sure.
that was me. So
Maybe.
so I really like that because it forces you to learn it because you have to stand up and explain it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, very much. Especially when there's a spotlight on you. And
Yeah.
even if you know that the other people are going to be supportive, you still want to do yourself proud, don't you? So you think almost maybe you put a little bit more pressure on yourself in a good way, because then it does kind of encourage you to go maybe the extra mile, or oh, maybe I should research this just in case they ask me a question on this.
Yeah. I think that it really does make a big difference. I've noticed even in my children's schooling that they are incorporating presentations like that
Mm.
more and more into the education. Um, but Maria, you have the other side of that in that you have real product deliverables that you have to do, right? You're making actual updates to the real production.
Yes.
And so there's certainly a lot of learning involved there. How do they
Mhm.
pick how do they pick which new enhancements or defects that you work on versus them?
In the start, it was my previous manager who works as a, I don't know what she tests my code to see if it works. So she thought, oh, this, as she knows me. So it was more like, okay, these cases are appropriate for me to try on. And she gave me a really, really hard one, my first case.
Wow.
I haven't solved it yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Done a lot of things in between, but that case is not complete. So I said that. Thank you for this.
It's your Mount Everest.
Yeah. So, and it says then it's just been rolling, because I have shown what I am capable of, and then just taking more and more complicated cases, and of course it's based on which is more prioritized in that sprint or so. That it depends, but it's mostly taxes, absence, vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really great. I love how you have this one, she had high confidence and she let you start right from the beginning with a big problem. And that's quite the story arc, talking about storytelling. Having that one case that you're working on for multiple years. When you finally solve it, will you let us know and we'll throw a party for you?
Absolutely.
We'll have around the world, because we're in all different time zones here, right? So we'll just all around the world, we'll do 24 hours of celebrating Maria's win.
Sounds great. Sounds good.
Yeah. So no pressure. Get it solved, soon.
Yeah, I want a party.
I want a party. All right. So let's talk about the things you've liked about your first 2 years, and because we have to, say nothing is perfect. What are the things you haven't really liked about your first 2 years?
Nothing.
Oh, liar. There's got to be something. It would be great if they just paid me more. The very least you can say that.
That's a good thing.
Yes. We'll be sure to send this to your manager.
I think so. Mine are kind of pretty much the same thing. So I like the fact that there's always something new to learn, but I also hate the fact that there's always something new to learn, because you think you're getting so far with it, and then it throws you a curveball, and then you feel like, oh, am I back in square one? You're not back in square one, but you just feel like, oh, I've put all this effort in, and I'm not. I don't think, or I'm not as far as I thought it was. But then, that's. I think you need that though, don't you? Because if everything was just on an uphill all the time, then that's not really. It's not as satisfying. It's like I was saying earlier, like when you try something and it breaks, and then you don't get that satisfying feeling when you fix it if it never broke in the first place. So I'm getting a little philosophical. However, that's kind of my answer.
I was going to get philosophical too, because what you're experiencing is there's a psychological thing of, it's this quadrant of what you know and what you think you know. And you don't know anything and you don't think you know anything, right? That's where you started. And then you think you know a lot, but you only know a little bit. You don't actually know a lot. That's where you move to next. And then when you become an expert is when you know a lot, but you know how much you don't know. That's where you're moving to. So those moments of doubt, at least I'm hoping I'm giving you a little bit of what that means. Moving into the next is that different. So that's a good. It's a good thing. Maria, what is it that's been great and what is it that's been maybe not so great?
I don't know. I think everything is so good now. Like, of course, I have bad days as well. Struggling, 2 years with one case. but I tend to focus on the good things. I might say the most challenging may have been to start in the middle of a pandemic, working from home. Not have your colleagues around. You can just turn over and ask a question. So it's been special in that way. But also I've got the chance to take it in my pace, at home, not stress. So even that is not a bad thing for me. So good things. I don't know. Good things. I'm learning every day. That's a good thing. Something new. It's fun to wake up in the morning, turn on the computer, and just get on with it. Or, when you get this light bulb when you are in the shower, oh yeah, that's the thing. I will try that. Or when you go to sleep, okay, I need to remember this tomorrow. When you're out for a walk or going to the store, and it's with you in a way, but it's not in a way that makes you like, oh, I think I can work everything all the time.
It's not
more
stressful.
it's
It's more
exactly.
interesting and
Exactly. It's more like, oh, my brain works this way. Okay, I'm in this coding, debugging mode, and just yeah. And that's also what I like about these 2 years. I have found some more between personal life, work life, more balancing life, and feel like I can take a walk, a pause, and my work is not it doesn't affect the work in a bad way.
Right. Yeah, which must be better than preschool teacher.
Oh yeah.
No question.
I can't even imagine. It's yeah.
What's not for me, if you say.
Yeah.
Not my type.
I love my kids. I'm not sure about other people's kids. Especially when they're little and they're in large groups, because they can gang up on you. So
they can.
And do. So all right. So let's talk about your advice for other women through your story. If you could go back to the interview process or to searching for a job or your onboarding, any of those things in the last few years, is there anything that you would have done differently? Is there anything you would recommend your organization, your employer would do differently?
I don't know. I wouldn't. I will say one piece of advice is, if you can, try and find a female mentor, because it's a very male. Tech is a very male-dominated industry. COBOL is a very, very male-dominated industry. So I didn't really until, well, it took me a while to find a lot of good female mentors. And even if they're not necessarily in COBOL, then, even if they're technical people or even just in the organization, because sometimes, sometimes it's just nice to have a bit of a sanity check, a reality check sometimes. So that's one piece of advice, if you can.
I love that. You don't need to have one mentor, right? You can have multiple mentors with different reasons of why you picked them.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Female mentor. Maybe I should be one.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe you should.
Yeah, in the future.
There's a lot that you get out of being a mentor. I find that I grow from every single one of my mentees. And not only that, they inspire me and they make me want to be better.
Mm,
So
that's
yeah,
cool.
it is cool.
No, my advice would be that my employee would have hired me before or someone else, just because my colleagues are close to retirement and you can't replace 50 plus years in like overnight or a couple of years.
That is so important. It bears repeating because we see this over and over again. When I talk to organizations, they say, well, we know we have to address the problem and, but we have other more important things we have to do right now.
Yep.
Well, you're not valuing the risk to your organization that you are creating today by not addressing a problem that's going to happen in the future. So, and they have a hard time because they see it as a future problem that can be addressed in the future.
Yeah.
Right? They don't see it as a today risk.
No.
Yep.
So hopefully some people are listening to this episode here and are taking that lesson away. You need
Yeah, I
to
hope so.
address that problem now.
Yes, before it's too late.
Yeah,
That's
very much.
right.
Yeah. And too late doesn't mean when the people have already retired. Too late can mean
Now.
now. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So let's start with or go back to the advice for young women. So hopefully we've got some young women listening to us right now and are inspired by your stories that you didn't know anything about programming. And then you stepped in and you found this amazing career that really has you excited. Who would have thunk that somebody in event management and somebody as a preschool teacher would find such a rewarding career, because those both sound like a lot more fun than programming. And yet here you are, obviously excited and inspired and just having a ton of fun with code, right? So I hope that is resonating and getting women inspired. So for those women that are inspired, what are your tips? How do they do this themselves?
I think reaching out to people, LinkedIn, social media. There's so many people who are willing to, there's a Facebook group. There's so many avenues I can think of to just, get involved, speak to people. As I said before, the COBOL community is so welcoming and so they just really want to teach everyone. They love COBOL so much and they just want everyone else to love it as much as they do. And yeah, I think just leverage your networks. That's actually such a such a corporate way of saying it. But yeah, essentially reach out to people. And also, YouTube, just Google, those kind of things, really, really useful. That's how I taught that's how I taught myself a lot of COBOL.
Yeah. And I hope the companies would like to hire people with other type of knowledges, not only programming, to get more diversity. So I hope, that's my hope.
I think that's an excellent point, Maria, and it bears repeating that you two are a great example of taking somebody who's just plain really smart and giving them the tools and the opportunity to learn, and that you don't have to get a 4-year degree in programming in order to be a programmer, especially in COBOL. Uh, you know, Grace Hopper absolutely insisted that COBOL be accessible to anyone, not just people with specific skills. So this is a fabulous career for somebody that's interested in programming, and you know, some of those other languages can be a little harder to learn um, than COBOL.
Yeah.
So, all right, as I'm sitting here and I realize I'm talking to two young women, and I have over 30 years of experience, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask the old lady on the call? Can you ask me anything?
Well, how do you see? So, COBOL has had let's say a bit of a rough reputation for the
Mm.
last 30, 40, however many years
Since the day it was invented, yeah.
since the day it was invented. So, how do you see the future of COBOL? And, please say yes, but is it worth a young person getting into COBOL?
Okay, we'll start with that bit first. It is definitely worth it because COBOL is still a very, very large part. Some estimates are 40% of all production code in the world is COBOL. A recent survey that Vance and Bourne did found 800 billion lines of COBOL in production. So you're going to encounter it, first of all. But second of all, the most valuable people to any organization are the ones that can bridge the old and the new. Take advantage of what's already there and bring it forward into the future. And it's those people that can, when you know one thing really, really, really well, and you're just isolated to that one thing, you're not providing broader value to the organization. For that really exciting, growth oriented career, it's knowing a little bit of everything. So, whether you're going to go and get a job that's labeled as a COBOL job, I think all young people should learn COBOL because they're going to encounter it and it makes them more valuable to their organization. So that's the answer to that question. As far as dispelling the myths, that's the whole thing that the Open Mainframe Project's COBOL working group is trying to address. It's a complex issue. There's a whole lot of history and unconscious bias going on. COBOL, I think of it as the people's programming language. It was created specifically for the regular average person in a business to be able to program business logic. So from a hierarchy point of view, that doesn't sound as fancy or as important as the higher languages coming out of university. So there's some bias going on there. I'm too good for COBOL. But really, let's think about it. It's just a programming language. The really good people are the people that make applications that last, that matter. It doesn't matter what programming language you're writing it in. It's what you do with it that matters. And that's where we're trying to change the conversation. So there's that answer. Maria, did you have a question for the old lady in the room?
I'm this type of person that tomorrow when I wake up, then I won't have come up with a question. So
No worries. I am here all week, as they say on the stage. No, I'm always happy to answer questions. The best way for people to reach out to me is on Twitter. I am Darth Misty, the mainframe Sith on Twitter, because I go out and I correct stupid tech reporters that say things like COBOL is old and everybody needs to get rid of all of their COBOL. And there is my Twitter handle because our producer is super fast. Thank you, Marcella. And with that, I think that that's all of our time today. I had a ton of fun. I think that we should have not only a COBOL Cats series, but we should launch it together in one of our respective cities over a beer, because we have too much fun together.
Yeah.
And we should all make sure we bring a pet. I can't provide a cat, but I can provide cute dog pictures if that would help. Yeah.
Yes.
I have 2 cats, so I can bring 2.
Okay.
I'll borrow one and then I can.
Yeah, you can borrow
Yeah.
one.
Nice. So thank you, both of you, for joining me today. I had a ton of fun. I learned a lot. I love your energy and excitement. For people with 2 years of experience, I mean, that's long enough to be past the honeymoon phase. And to see you still both so energized and excited is really encouraging to an old lady like me. And I'm sure to all of our COBOL audience as well. And great tips. I hope that we get more people like you into our industry, because we need you. You are amazing. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
All right.